I think that the message is, and the lesson for me is a reminder of something that I did know, something I have known throughout my life, of that feeling of the clock is running. You're on the clock right now. You don't know when that clock's going to end, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're on it. And every second that you're not grinding on that clock, you lose it. And there's a point where complacency will try to sneak in. The complacency will try to crawl up and go, dude, you've been crushing it. Look at what you've done. And that voice can kind of get loud, and it can kind of tell you, like, dude, it's time to kind of turn the corner and coast a little bit. Kind of glide just a little bit. You're good. And I think the best thing that's happened to me is that exposure to Echelon Front, exposure to the team, and exposure to jiu-jitsu in a way of not like, oh, am I going to be some world champion? It's that, bro, the more you know, the more you learn, the less you actually know. Yep. Because learning just means like, oh, there's more out there. Mm-hmm. So you go from 1 to 2, but what's available is 100 to 1,000, and you get to 3, and 1,000 turns into 10,000. Mm-hmm. And jiu-jitsu is infinite. And so every time I get to whatever the next step is, the next level, all it really does is just somebody's opening door and go, oh, it's actually bigger. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's almost like you're getting worse. If you do the math, like I'm now at level 4 out of 1,000,000.
You're like, yesterday there was only 4 moves I didn't know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Today there's 40 moves I don't know.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, for our dogfighting in an aircraft, right? It seems like there would be some limitation.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
You and I have not had this conversation, but I've had those thoughts. There absolutely is a limit. There's only so many things that you can do.
Yeah.
And that's actually not true.
Yeah. And in an aircraft, just by constraints of time, I mean, you can't go up and dogfight for 4 hours a day. Now you do that in Top Gun for a few years. But the opponents that you have, well, I guess you're going against the other instructor. That's as good as you're going to get.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu, you can do that for 20 years.
The parallels are undeniable. And you saw that right away. You and I talked about that. There's no question. That has been the most intriguing thing for me, is that I'm able to replicate those feelings. But the unlimited nature of what's out there. If I had a guy in a Hornet that I was going to go do BFM with, and we were going to do these maneuvers, and he'd be like, I like to do this when I'm defensive, and it wasn't exactly what he's supposed to do, he was going to lose every single time. I'm like, oh, you're not going to do the best method in this situation? Mm-hmm. Good. I'm going to savage you.
Mm-hmm. Jiu-jitsu is not like that.
It's not like that. Yeah. There is no, this is what works, and everything else is inferior. And we have the geometry, we have the math, we have the science, the physics, and we actually at Top Gun, through a ton of effort and trial and error, actually figure out this is what you need to do here. This is how you create the most amount of closure. These are all the things you do to maximize your aircraft. And so if somebody deviates from that, it's just better for you. That's not true.
Yeah, it's not. There's like it's been so broken down and so studied that there's no possibility that someone could come up with something and go, oh, I came up with something new.
No.
It's not happening.
Nope, not happening. and when you're at Top Gun, I would love to see somebody to try something new. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
Do your worst. Come up with your best game plan, because I know what you need to do in this situation, and if you don't do that, you're just giving me opportunity. Yeah. That's what you're doing.
And so there is a level of that in jiu-jitsu where, they're going to put your arms up. There's all you're going to give up your back. There's all these things that you can't do. But for instance, Jeffy Glover, he'll give up his back, and then he's rolling away from you. Or Dean Lister, you're getting him in a triangle, you think, and then you're getting your guard pass and you're getting smashed. So there's times where the things that you don't expect someone to do, they do, and it's problematic.
Yeah, and I want to be very careful. I'm so new at this that I almost should not even be telling you what I think I know about this. But the glide path to get from seeing the inside of an F-18 for the first time to being right at the very apex of that community, 6-7 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. About 7 years from, I'm going to introduce you to this airplane. Nah, you know how to fly, but now I'm going to introduce you to a combat aircraft for the first time in your life. A real combat machine. You're going to get in that thing. I got there in 1998. First time I set foot in an F-18. I got to Top Gun in 2002. I left in 2005. So I would say I was kind of at my apex in 2005.
Wow.
So from 98 to 05, that's how long it took me to be at the top of that world. Am I going to, can you imagine like the best guys in jiu-jitsu, the guys that have been doing it for 5 to 6 years?
Yeah, well, what you'd have to do is there's some anomalies out there.
Yeah.
There's guys that are incredible natural athletes, and also you'd have to take someone and say, okay, this is your job, because that was your job.
Yeah.
That's a big piece. Hey, this is your job, and that happens. Some kids get into jiu-jitsu and they're like, oh, I'm going to sleep on the mat. All I'm going to do is train. BJ Penn got his black belt and did well. Did he win the worlds after 3 years?
I don't know.
I don't think so. But, in 3 years, got his black belt, and he was a legit black belt.
Yeah.
Someone was asking on social media the other day, hey, is this guy legit?
Yeah.
He seems to have gotten his black belt. Got his black belt from Danaher in a short period of time.
Oh, you mean the judo Olympian?
Olympic
silver
judo,
medalist? Yeah.
Yeah, he might have some skills.
Yeah.
He might be able to get up there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yes, for that answer, yes, that dude is legit. You can get your black belt. You can get your black belt pretty quickly if you have a bunch of natural talent. Maybe you have some kind of base, wrestling, judo, something like that, and then you make it your job.
Yeah.
You can get really good really fast.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, if your mind is like addicted to it in one way or another, and then you have some prerequisites, like the Gio and the Martinez brothers, they had breakdancing, but a lot of the same stuff, and that kind of went along with their style. I think
I would go so far as to say, this is a guess. I would go so far as to say that most people that have their black belt in jiu-jitsu were in the obsessed mode at some point in their life.
Makes sense.
That's what I'm going to say.
Sure. I cannot disagree with that.
Right? Have you ever known someone that's a black belt that was not, at least for a period of 3 years, was just, that's all they thought about?
I don't know of any, no.
Yeah, they were just into jiu-jitsu real hardcore.
Yeah, that's true.
And then maybe they grew out of it a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people just keep training hard. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.